All right, I'm starting the broadcast. Some people just can't get connected. I cannot troubleshoot everything all night long or we'll never get going. Part that is, I can see why Leo the part has a staff of people to help do a video production. Because, all right, now which link did you end up clicking on to see that?
It just came up on top.
Did it really?
Yeah.
When I click on the link, it opens up in the Hangouts app.
Yeah. Now I've got you, but I've got a red square and a go button on it. Why? Gotcha.
Oh, it's probably going to start playing shortly because what you're looking at there is the YouTube live stream on air, and so I think it's a little bit delayed, and then you'll see it, so that it's not like real time. Eventually, I'm going to start talking, and if your sound's on, I'll hear myself like 5-10 minutes out. So,
You gotta turn it on.
cool. Well,
Here, anyhow, if I need it.
I know that I see that Ray got connected. Tim just could not get reconnected. It kicked him out. How are you, Ray?
Fine.
Glad you could join us. So you were able to access the link. Okay, that's good to hear. Yep. So, all right. So without further ado, I'm gonna. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Andrew, you didn't miss anything because we're just getting started now. I've already just started the broadcast, so.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, so just jumping ahead to next month, I'm hoping I'll confirm this and get it scheduled sooner rather than later. I'm hoping to, and of course, Andrew, you're just like, well, I don't care, I'm in Florida, but for those here in Louisville, I'm going to look at having the April meeting be at the Humana Digital Experience Center. I've got to secure that, so that's not a given yet, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to because it'd be very cool to end up having that that'll be like about a week after the Apple Watch is released, so the timing of it will be perfect. And if I can secure we call it the deck, if I can secure that for the meeting, it can fit a lot of people, be able to be set up to do the Hangout as well, and then coordinate to just get somebody there to be a representative for Pebble and myself and anyone else who's got Android Wear. And I know that Samantha's planning on getting an Apple Watch, and so anyone else who might be there who has picked up their watch by then we'll just be able to have some show and tell, talk about, et cetera. So tonight we can just talk about what we expect and so what we've heard thus far. But I think that next month will probably be much juicier just because then the device will be here and we'll really just be able to make some comparisons and do all that kind of stuff. But with that, I know that first I just wanted, before we get into the watch discussion, I don't know if you guys saw that there was recently an article yesterday where Eric Schmidt was quoted in the Wall Street Journal saying that Google Glass is not dead. He wanted to stifle some of this new stuff that has come out as of recent to where all the media really jumped on the fact that Glass was taken out of the Google X labs and put into its own, so it's like it's come out of the lab and then there's just a division that's now at Google working on Glass. Largely, yes, for enterprise at this point in time, but you know, certainly the media jumped all over that, and then I've had countless people all the time. People, they'll see me still wearing Glass, go, "Oh, I thought that it's dead. I thought it's gone." And it's like, no, it's not gone. It's just basically they took it out of the X lab, and part of the reason I think they, as well, that they did that is that there was a reason for it to be in the lab, is to launch things, you know, get things started like an incubator, and now that it's going to just be its own a division like anything else at Google, and end up having is it Tony Fidel, I think his name is, and then that other girl who came in, you know, was hired by Google to come in and help with Glass, that they're now working on version 2 to be for consumers, but they admit that really they screwed up on, who screwed it up? Marketing. the marketing people screwed it up. That they really started to take off with all of this wowzers kind of advertising of just like it's supposed to be the hipster thing, having girls on the runway walking up and down with glass on and all this, and it's just like, wow, did you just totally distort this? You can imagine the people who are really working on glass were just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is still very much a beta product. We're still trying to explore with this. We still want to like shrink this down and work on it physically, mature the product, etc. And then you're out here just doing these goofy marketing things. And so I think that's when they finally just, whoa, let's take a step back, bring this back on inside. We start to work, and then Tony Fidel, who really created the iPod, then he's going to say, we're not going to release this thing until all of a sudden it's like, ta-da, we have glass commercial version available, what should I say, consumer version available, and here you go, and then for it to be a lot more. And then I've even seen a, I turned off theater mode. Let's see. Did I? I saw it's a Vision, it's called like VCP Vision or something like that, has created a, they call them smart glasses. So what they do, I don't know, because they call them smart glasses, but they look a lot like those Drew Carey kind of very thick frame type of glasses, and you don't see a prism, and so that everything is distributed, but the whole frame and everything is a lot, you know, thicker looking, but still today it's really kind of a in style type of glasses. And they folded, and you could see even when it folded, there was something in the hinge. You could tell that something, be it like in the arm here, definitely connected. You know, there was electronic stuff that connected on through. So then it's whether or not they're trying to project actually onto the lens, or how they've done that, I don't know. But there's just one of the guys standing there in a picture, and they just showed it off like a couple days ago. I was like, wow, see, so there's even competition. And then today there was an article that was just alleging that Apple is secretly working on their pair of Google Glass. But it's so funny that I always said to people when I first got them, I said, this is like the cell phone from 40 years ago. The shoulder pack over your bag, or your shoulder, and you're like, hey, I'm talking on a cell phone. You know, or they didn't even say cell phone then. It'd be like, I'm talking on a phone and I'm not connected to anything. You're just excited, and how far that we've come with that. So it'll be cool to see, and it was just neat to see Eric finally just come out and quote that, and probably that was after Astro Teller last week, who's the head of Google X Labs, had said, yeah, we screwed up. But at the same time, he didn't say anything positive. He just basically said we screwed up, and it was really marketing that screwed it up, so we brought it on in. And then all of a sudden Eric Schmidt.
Always blame it on the marketing guys.
Well, you know, because they just get a little overzealous. And hello, Mark, by the way. I see that you joined us. Good to see you. So I continue to wear them. I've even had some people in recent past be like, you're still wearing those? And just as if like that it's bothersome. Now, granted, I've even got a camera cover that I can put over the camera if someone's bothered, because now that I'm working in the Digital Experience Center, that's like, if you want, I'll cover the camera. It's not a big deal. Admittedly, I take a lot of pictures, and I enjoy that spontaneous moment to be able to take a picture, particularly of my pets, that by the time I get out my phone and take a picture, 9 out of 10 pictures I take of my pets are with glass, because it's right there, boom, I take the picture, I'm done. I'd be okay if suddenly version 2 of Glass came out and didn't have the camera. I'd be bummed, but I'd be okay, because there's still so much of that functionality that I enjoy with it. So I'm just excited to know that it's continuing on. It ain't dead yet, and it'll continue to grow, and it's cool to hear of Apple possibly just toying with it, although even in that article they said that could be 10 years out. But the bottom line is we're going to get to that point. And I guess it's a good segue on into glass, into watches, because, you know, that I've had Android Wear, and now I've got the, this one is from Asus. As a matter of fact, I got sidetracked when someone sent me a notification. I've got theater mode on, so I'm turning it off now. So I have the Asus watch. I'm still in theater mode, hold on. Theater mode off. There we go, okay. So then there's my watch faces lit up. As a matter of fact, speaking of, and I'll take my watch off for a moment just so you guys can see. I've shared this online, but this is actually a watch face that I made myself. And so just a little app that's called Watchmaker, and so let me pull down my notification out of the way so you can just see. So that's basically what it looks like. It's got the temperature up in this corner, and over in this corner is the battery percentage of the watch, and then I put with the month and the day, so it says Tuesday, March 24th, and then digitally have the time, and then I've got 2 lines of appointments, of next appointments showing up. If I do tap on the appointments, matter of fact, speaking of it, this is actually a watch face that I made myself, I'm going to mute you, Tim, because I hear some echo coming through. Keep on listening and then shout because I'm hearing myself coming back through. There we go. Oops. I got to pay attention to my watch. There we go. So I just tapped on the appointments, and I know it's kind of hard. I'm waiting for the screen to see if it's going to adjust. Let me turn down my brightness, just so you can see. And the point I wanted to make with this is, oops. There we go. Turn down my bright. All right. So that helps. So there's ambient mode. You see it's black. Now if I wake it up, in addition to it saying the temperature, you see actually there's a little picture of my wife in the corner. I just added that just for funsies. I wanted to make a very simple watch. You know, I'm sure anyone has seen that even the Apple Watch faces, some of them very fancy, and even Android Wear watches, particularly the Moto X. People are really going crazy. Developers making beautiful, beautiful looking. I mean, you look at it from a distance, it's like, wow, that looks like a Timex or a Rolex or just whatever. I mean, it's a fancy looking watch, and I've even got some nice watch faces, even though this is a square watch face. But I like information, and I know it's just my mindset of the years that I had a PDA to then a smartphone to now the phones that we have, that it's one thing that, you know, I know that you can get that stuff from a notification curtain in iOS, etc. But I love having on my phone that when I go to my home screen is packed with information at a glance. I didn't have to touch a thing. That I'm suddenly seeing my calendar, I'm seeing the weather, I'm seeing it all just by turning on my phone screen, and I see that stuff, and that's what I like. So likewise, once I want to make a watch face, I was like, I want to put so I can see, I want to know what the temperature is. Right now it's 48 degrees outside. I've got 57% battery, and I've got the MyMobileVille Meetup, and it shows twice, so otherwise it normally would show 2 appointments, but I've got I did that, you know, so they're having 2 events show on there for the same thing as just my doing on Google+. But normally it would show whatever my next appointment is. So at a glance, I'm seeing what I need to see. And some of the nice fancy watch faces that I've had, and they're even on here. I can even, let me see if I go to one of them here. I'm just scrolling through some of the choices. Here's like one. It's called Explorer. All right, and so it's got that nice analog type watch face, and even got some pretty cool icons that kind of flash back and forth, so that it like shows a battery icon. Hold on, I'm in ambient mode. So it says that 57%, and then all of a sudden it turns it back and it's like a battery. And then one of them shows a little guy walking, and when it turns around, it says my steps are 6,700 steps, and then it's got the 46, so that it's fancy, but like looking at this watch faces, I've got it there. Everything's cool. You can see the numbers right now. But at the right time of day, those analog arms are like right in front of the number you want to see. And so I've not really been all that thrilled with some of these analog watch faces due to that. So then I was like, you know what? I want to have a digital one. So there's been some other digital ones. Let me see if I find one that was pretty simple. Here's one. It's called Lateral. And I had this on for a bit, and so you see it says 740, but they're trying to be artsy, so it like says 7 and then 40.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
704.
Oh, 704. I was looking at backwards in the screen. But at least up at the top, without being interfered, it's got the battery, the steps, and the weather. And I do dig that weather thing, which that's a little more fancy because mine is very, very simple. But I'm just using an app that's called Watchmaker, and so I was just doing a very, very straightforward, simple kind of a thing. So then, let me see if it gets me back to my watch face. There it is. So this is back to mine. And it was a very simple thing to be able to make. And some people have made very, very fancy watch faces in Watchmaker. But I am happy with this. That's why I even chose, again, watches, it's blue right now. And let it go dark. All right, now it goes to ambient mode. That's typically how it is when it's on my wrist. And then once I turn my wrist, then it lights up. And likewise, a similar kind of function will be with the Apple Watch, to where there's kind of a, you know, the regular mode, and then all of a sudden it will light up. And I think it was lights up. That's when you're actually at the list of the icons of the apps. You know, otherwise you've got a watch face to be able to see. And so what I had done earlier is that there's a chance to have theater mode on this, and what you do with theater mode is it basically keeps the screen totally dark, and the only time it's going to wake up is you double tap it. So in other words, you know, you're in a theater, you don't want the thing glowing, because boy, when I'm walking the house and it's dark, if I turn my wrist and this lights up, even with it being blue, I just chose a simple blue background, it's still like, I mean, I'm illuminating the steps going up the stairs, and you know, that all eats up battery. I mean, I was at 67% when I first got here. I'm at 53. I can tell I'm chewing through it because I'm using it a lot. But so I went all day long, and I was just at 67% battery. But that theater mode comes in handy to where if you did want to save battery, and you're like, you know what, I don't need to worry about looking at my watch right now, and if I turn it, I don't want it lighting up. You can save a lot of juice, and I think Apple Watch is probably in a similar type of where you put it into that battery-saving mode. And I don't know if it'll be a double tap, maybe it'll be to touch the crown, something where it'll be to wake it up, and you deliberately want to look at it. Although I will say that the hands-free thing is certainly very convenient. Now I will say Apple has chosen a great time of year to release the watch, and I've mentioned this before, is that right now, if I had my watch, if this was fastened and I have long sleeves on, and I get a notification, and if I didn't have glass, and I felt the watch vibrate, and I want to look at the watch to see what that message was that just came through, because my phone is in my pocket, or for a girl it's in her purse, or it's in your coat, whatever it might be, like, hey, I want to see this. And there I am walking down the street, and it's like, oh my God, I'm trying to see so I can see that notification because I've got a winter coat on or a long sleeve. Apple Watch is coming out in the spring, so people will be back in short sleeves. And they aren't going to experience that pain in the ass of having a long sleeve shirt until the fall. Then all of a sudden there are going to be people going, wow, this sucks. That you're actually sitting there like trying to, because especially if your hands were full. That's what I still, when people say, what do you enjoy so much about glass? Why are you still wearing it? It's like, because I do get those notifications still on glass. And yes, it's overkill, so I am kind of a human experiment in redundancy. But the fact of the matter is that I could be sitting in a meeting and well, actually, let me back up. The other night, my wife was talking to me. I'm sitting in the living room with her. And whatever she was talking about, she was passionate about whatever she was talking about. And I made, and this is going to happen, made the bad habit and mistake of suddenly I got some sort of notification. Gosh knows what it was. But she's talking to me, and so there I am like looking at her, and all of a sudden, bzz, bzz, and I go, I look back.
No.
The look that I had was just, and I just realized, it's like, wow, that was rude. She's talking, and then it'd be like as if like, and that's just that rude thing that people even just do with their watch. Like, oh, look at the time, I got to get going, you know. And it's like you're out, and so then we're gonna have this social awkwardness that people are going to be looking at their wrist a lot and really causing an awkward situation with people. So the granted, even with glass, if also I got a message, you'd be talking to me, and also you can see me, I'm going like this, my eyes are going to be glancing up, and like, yeah, what are you looking at? But I'm able to do it so much more subtly. So I could be sitting in a meeting at work, and also I feel my phone vibrate, I feel my wrist vibrate, and I go ting ting, and I hear glass, I look up to do the glance to wake it up, and I see the message, but that's how I'm able to do it. And unless someone was looking right at me, they don't even know. But people are going to know when someone does this. Yeah. Or someone's going to be sitting there in a meeting, and you can just see them down like this, and they're just going to be just, we can't really see them on the screen there. Just sitting there just going like this, and just, they're going to be playing with their watch, and there's going to be some awkwardness we're going to be going through here because now we're going to reach critical mass. You know, there's not going to be every Tom, Dick, and Harry go out and spend $350 for an Apple Watch, but they're going to sell a buttload of them, and now, in mass, there's going to suddenly be this realization of some of these really social faux pas that people are going to do with their
and backing up to marketing, every other phone manufacturer with that kind of phone is going, can Apple bring it out a day earlier, please? Because everybody knows once Apple does that, no, you can't spend the $385, but you'll spend $129.
Matt?
Right. Yeah.
There will be a lot.
Isn't everyone already doing that with their phones?
They are, but it's just now just yet another level because people think this is going to be liberating, and in a way it is liberating. And yet now we're just going to have a lot more where people are going to just be, because really the looking at your watch thing has been kind of, for years, has been a universal thing of if all of a sudden someone was like, you know, I really got to get going, even if they didn't have a smartphone, they'd suddenly just be like, ooh, you know what, I got to get heading, you know, and you just see the glance at the watch and you're looking at the time, what do you know, I got to go, and it's just, it's you're out, and now it's going to be suddenly notifications of all sorts. So it wasn't that you meant to be looking at the time and leave, but now all of a sudden something on your wrist is more important than paying attention to the person, and it's just going to be another thing that we can be doing that could, in the wrong context, is going to be rude to somebody. I will say, and I might be jumping around on some of this stuff, so pardon my being kind of ADD with the thoughts, because I mean I don't have stuff written down, so I'm just as they kind of come to me. But some of them are just observations that is. I'm using Android Wear. My sister has a Pebble. I know Ian Husk has a Pebble, loves it. He just couldn't be here tonight. He's home watching his daughter. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have a lot to say. The Pebble has still got a strong future ahead of it because that it's device agnostic, and so that someone can get a Pebble. My sister's got it, and she's running Android. She had actually got it for her daughter initially, and it was for iOS, and it's like how wonderful to be able to have that device. Granted, it's not going to be nearly as robust, but they've got a good start, and they can continue to make it more robust, and while it still works with both platforms, very cool. And then otherwise, you choose either Android or Apple Watch based on which device that you have. And so fundamentally, a lot of them are doing a lot of the same things. There's going to be certain bells and whistles each of them are going to do unique, and that's very cool. I think it's great. It's great for us as consumers because it just continues to raise the bar on the competition, even though that right now the Apple Watch is for no one but for someone who's got an iPhone 5. I think it's 5C and above. I'm not sure if it's 5, if the original 5 or not.
I think it's 5.
Might be 5. So the iPhone 5 and above. So if someone's still sitting in 4 land, they aren't even eligible for a watch. But anyway, so the Apple Watch is just for Apple users, and Android Wear currently just for Android users. Although that rumor has it is that Google is feverishly working on being able to make the support for iPhone available. Certainly, it won't be as a robust functionality. I'm sure that even if they make it happen, there's going to be certain things Apple's not going to allow access to that the Apple Watch would. But knowing that they worked already and made an app for Glass, so the Glass notifications and all that stuff could work with an iPhone, I could see them making, even if it's a quote watered down version of the connectivity, that if someone wanted to have and they have an iPhone, they're like, you know what, I think I'd want one of those Android Wear phones, watches, especially when more and more of them will come out and you can end up getting a quote cheap one for $100 or $150, and it's like that's all I can afford, but I'd like to get one of these, and I'm into. Because a person can have an iPhone and be in the Apple world and still like all the Google properties and want Google Now functionality and all that. And you can enjoy that with Android Wear. So, but the bottom line is that a lot of the functionality will still parallel. There might be a different way about how they go about getting there. But that said, some of the things that I do most frequently right now on the watch, one of them is kind of a silly thing, but it's very, very practical. And I imagine the more I'll use it, the more I'll use it in other instances, is one of our cats, we have a bunch of cats, and one of them, he's skinny, and he doesn't eat as much as he should, and the others will eat food, and so I have to always take special care to make sure Buckley gets some extra special food. So then when I'm feeding one of our sick cats and he gets some wet food, then Buckley gets a chance to have a big old glob of wet food, and I put him in the downstairs bathroom, which is right there off of the kitchen. So first couple of times I was doing this, and he goes running to the bathroom, and I take the dish, and I put a big old glob of food in there, and put it, and I shut the door. Then I'm going about my business, and about like an hour later, it's like, where's Buck? Oh my gosh, I left him in the bathroom. So I open the door, he comes running on out, meowing. It's like, what in the world? So now my routine is I'm carrying the food, he's running after me, I'm already putting the glob in the dish, I put it on down, I turn my watch and say, okay, Google, set a timer for 10 minutes. And then boom, I go walking about my way, I'm making breakfast, I'm doing what else, all of a sudden my watch starts vibrating, and I open the door and let Buckley out. He's like, thank you. So I give him like 10 minutes to be able to eat, and he's through his meals. So that this is just an example to where it's because I'm carrying the cat food, I've got the can of food, I've got the dish because the other cats are already like trying to, so I've got to keep them back. So it's an event for me to just get him in the bathroom and do that. So I'm juggling a lot, and Glass doesn't have that. I couldn't say, okay, Glass, set a timer. Otherwise, that's something I would have probably been doing a long time ago. So. That's a very handy thing, a very small thing, but an example of how having it there on your wrist could be cooking. I've done it cooking as well. Throw some mozzarella sticks into the oven, instead of setting the timer on the oven. I look in the box, I'm like, how long? 12 minutes? All right, set a timer for 12 minutes. I go sit down and watching TV with Denise, all of a sudden my watch is vibrating, and go on in and get it. So I mean, it's just that convenience to where hands-free you could do it. And as I understand it, and we'll see with Apple Watches, we see just truly some of the functionality, et cetera, is that I'm going to have the Siri functionality. So I believe, hands-free, you will be able to have the watch from its woken up state probably say, hey Siri, then boom, you're going to use that same Siri functionality. Or even if it's just a search. It does have a speaker. That's one thing I'm envious of the Apple Watch. I can see future iterations of Android Wear coming with a speaker as well. Because aside from the phone answering capability, which is pretty cool with the Apple Watch. They hadn't mentioned that when they first announced it, and then once they did this recent announcement, then they revealed that little bomb. It's like, wow, that's pretty damn cool. Not that you can say have a long conversation, but I can answer a phone call from Android Wear. But if my phone is not near me, now of course, you can only have, normally these are around my neck all the time. My LG Bluetooth headset. So I could answer the phone. My phone could be someplace else, but as long as I'm in Bluetooth connectivity where my headset's working, then it's on me. Then I could swipe and answer the call from Android Wear, and then suddenly I'd be answering on the phone. I also can just push the button on my Bluetooth headset. It's not that big of a deal. But point being is that that's the way that I answer a call. Apple, your phone can be any place in your house, and if you're not within Bluetooth connectivity, that watch is still going to be connected through the Wi-Fi. And you answer that call, and you literally are just like, yeah, hold on, I'm busy right now, I'm up on a ladder changing a light bulb, but hold on. And then you step on down, still on the call, you pick up your phone, you're making the phone call and everything. That's very, very cool. So back to the Siri thing, I could see to where like you would do searches and you'd say, okay, Siri, what is the blah, 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 and then she's going to be talking back to you via that speaker, whereas you only just get, you could do that with OK Google, but you're just going to get a response where you're looking down and you're just reading it on the screen. It's not talking back to you. You're going to say something, Andy?
Yeah, so Google has announced that the next version of Android Wear and the 5.1 update will include Wi-Fi.
Yes, I heard about the Wi-Fi. Now, what'll be interesting, and this is going to be up to the hardware manufacturers, if they go the route of having there be a speaker so that you potentially could answer a phone call or even have, although, that's funny. Well, there's times that Google now talks to you, but for more times than not, I've noticed that, if on my phone, on my Moto X, okay, Google, what is the current temperature?
It's 49 degrees in Louisville right now.
Okay, so it did answer on that. Sometimes all it does is just give you the display, but in that case, that would have been nice for that answer to come. So if I said that on my watch, okay, Google, what is the current temperature? And there's times to where Android Wear needs to speed this up. It's still like,
I was going to
you got the
say,
spinner.
it seems a little slow, right?
Oh, it's saying it's offline. And some of the issues I'm having as of recent, I really blame on my Moto X. I'm supposed to be getting an update to this phone here soon. There's times to where, like right now, it just came back, but Android Wear said it was disconnected. And it's a Bluetooth issue with my Moto X to where the connectivity all of a sudden, because I'll feel it vibrate. There'll be a little vibrate, and I'll look up and see a notification on Android Wear, and it says disconnected. So a little annoyance there. But something else regarding notifications, and part of this is what I enjoy, and I know that there will be developers going to go crazy with all sorts of things to what extent they can with Apple Watch, because everyone's going to want to get on that bandwagon and potentially be a millionaire by having some watch app that's going to be all exciting for people to download and have. But I love the open nature of Android. There's been a lot of development toward it already. Granted, the adoption of Android Wear by average users is not that big yet, but it's because the general public just doesn't necessarily see a need for the be a watch. That's going to change once it reaches mass appeal and everyone suddenly sees Apple Watches. People will think twice about it. But an example of something that I just recently installed on my phone, and most of the apps, like will be with Apple, they aren't standalone apps on the watch per se. You end up putting an app onto the phone, and then that app will have functionality that's on the watch. So eventually there can be standalone apps for the Apple Watch. That'll come later this year, as I understand, so we'll be talking more about that, I'm sure. But I'm trying to find this one app right now. Here it is. It's called Feel the Wear, and it's just this app down here in the corner of my screen. Too bright for you to see. And what this app basically allows me to do, I'm going to turn down my brightness, is I can choose any of these particular apps and what their notification might be, and customize the vibration that comes in on the watch. Now, so far, the only one that I've decided to customize was Google Hangouts. So if somebody messages me via Hangouts, then I chose, and I'm trying to find where it's at. Oh, it's at the top. Yeah, so you see at the very top is Hangouts, because it's the only one I've chosen thus far. Any other notification I get on the watch, it's just going to go bzzz, and that's it. just a single buzz. But on Hangouts, I've got 3 long vibrates. So if my wife sent me a Hangouts message on my watch, I'm going to feel it go bzz, bzz, bzz. So then,
It's her.
yeah, in that instance, not necessarily
you know
her.
what it is.
I know it's a Hangouts message.
As opposed to a calendar or
Right.
a phone call or...
Exactly. So that, because there's times to where I even hear or feel the buzz on my phone because it's in my pocket, and hear maybe even an audible notification, like I have Circa as a news item, and every day at noon, Circa sends the daily update of all the latest news. And the first times it was going off, I even had my Bluetooth headset on, I'm listening to music, and this thing would come in, it was just really kind of a weird kind of, just one of those kind of like increasing volume, really almost like a gong kind of a sound. I was like, what the hell was that? And I realized it was the Circa, hey, it's noon, this is your daily update announcement. So I'll feel a vibrate on my watch even for that. I look down and it says Circa update, and then you tap on it and you're able to view the updates. Not on the watch, by the way. Most of the notifications on Android Wear, admittedly, let me see if I pull up a notification of something. Let's say here is a notification from Instagram that somebody did a notification for something on Instagram. So I see that it shows the picture of the person from Instagram, and then let me get back to it. Oh, thank goodness that thing turned off. Yeah. Sorry for that air conditioning noise. All right, so now if I swipe over, it says open on phone. That is the default for many, many apps on Android Wear. And so yes, you could just tap that and all of a sudden it's going to launch on the phone if you want to do that. I find that I don't really do that often. And granted, let me do that. If I'm here and I'm just on the screen where it says Bill Knowles started and I tap open on phone, now it has just opened up Instagram on my phone. So that's convenient, but for the most part, I treat those notifications that I would get, like this one that was from him, and is just as if it was in the notification curtain, and I just know it was there. If it's something I want to act on, I'm probably just going to pick up my phone and just go to it. It is kind of convenient, though. You could swipe over, tap open on phone. You don't even have to surf to it. It's just like, boom, there it is. It's now open. But there are other ones to where there might be an action depending on what the app is. And speaking of apps, there is an additional app that I had put on. It's actually called it's called Wear Mini Launcher. And so then this is not an Android, a Google approved thing, but you can see as I scroll through, it shows the apps that are actually on the device. The way that Android Wear by default was designed was for you to open these by saying, okay, Google, open blank. That's a little bit of a pain in the butt. So I could see them possibly opening up and enhancing this to make an official thing somewhere down the line where you'd open up apps. Because a couple of the apps I've got on here, one is called Paperware. I thought I'd enjoy it more, but I'm not really using it that often. It's supposed to be to where you can choose some different news feeds, and then it shows up. And then if you do, so if I tap on Paperware, right, it says, don't have time to watch Simpsons every episode. Here are 16 you can't miss. Swipe on down. Let's see, 7 scary facts about antibiotic-resistant superbugs. So I don't know what kind of new stuff I'm getting here, but New York City didn't end its ferret ban. It should have. Now, it shows a little snippet of it, and then otherwise, I could swipe over, and it says Save to Pocket. And I use the snot out of Pocket to save all my articles. I use it. I've got the Chrome browser extension, so every time I'm reading something, I right-click, Save to Pocket, and I read it later in Pocket. So then it's pretty cool, but I don't see it pop up that often, so a guy is just toying with it, but I appreciate the effort that he's making. But so that's just an app that I've got on there I was playing with. Now this one is pretty cool, and it's called At Hand Tuner. And what this is a guitar tuner. So then right now it's showing like I'm trying to make it. So, and it actually works very well. It's actually, the app even works just on your phone, but I've got a tuner for my guitar, but I might be sitting on the back porch playing my acoustic, and also I need a tune real quick. Oh, I see someone's pointing their camera to guitar. And I want to check my tuning real quick, then I can just do it. And it's a lot more accurate, actually, if you took the watch off and you hold it up against the neck, because then it's picking up the vibrations and makes it really, really spot-on accurate. But I found that it's even accurate that you just suddenly turn. Now, the one thing I like on an acoustic is because there's tuning pegs on both sides. I'm fine when I'm like tuning on this side because I'm looking at the watch. All of a sudden I go to this side and it's facing the other way. I can't see. But instead I'll just tune it and I'm hitting and I'm looking at the watch and I'm hitting the string. I'm like, all right, good, I'm in tune. So it's kind of cool. I can see apps, again, if it was Android Wear, if it's Apple, those are kind of apps when I think of what kind of app would work on a watch, because it should be something that's just really quick. You're not going to be like spending a bunch of time looking at your watch.
You're not going to send email with that thing.
You know, now here's a cool one. I keep putting the watch on and I shouldn't. Is Amazon Shopping.
Well, that's dangerous.
This could be dangerous. I've only done it for real. I've demoed it a lot of times, but I've only done it for real a couple of times. But it was very, very handy. And let me see if
Box of tea, bag of coffee.
oops.
I had to turn off that Amazon one-click because it was getting.
Here we go. So Amazon Prime, and then it says, what are you looking for? Tap to search. Okay, so I'll just say guitar strings. All right, so then, and again, by the time you've done all this, like, why the hell don't you just pick up your phone and do this? But it is showing, it's taking a moment for the image to load, but it's showing some D'Addario bronze acoustic guitar strings, $11.99. It's a 3-pack of guitar strings. So then the picture's not showing right now, but if I swipe over, buy now with one click. So you suddenly do need just whatever it might be, especially since you know how Amazon just starts to know the stuff you're buying. You can see how they'd be very convenient to where it's that thing you're going to repeatedly buy, and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to buy it. So all of a sudden you just say to your watch, you know, I need some more shampoo. It comes up, you're like, yep, swipe, one click, boom, done, you're moving on your way. Yes, you could have done that just as fast from your phone, but I can see there's some validity to that, and that kind of stuff is going to get the juices flowing for people to be creative with, like, what other kind of apps could be I can see more of this stuff of, say, the home automation. There's even a Google, an Android Wear demo when they first announced Android Wear last June, where it showed a girl on a bicycle come riding up to a garage with some friends, and all of a sudden she goes, okay, Google, open the garage door, and the garage door goes up. That kind of stuff would be very, very cool. Or just this fact of, like, how Starwood Hotels, I think it is, that Apple Watch is going to have where it's your room key, and there's no NFC inside of these, but again, I could see that kind of hardware revision. That's going to be up to hardware manufacturers on the Android Wear side for them to get that same kind of functionality, but put an NFC thing in there so that Google Wallet could work, or that other things potentially could be coded to it to let NFC be a room key or even your house key. See you come on up and you're carrying a bunch of stuff. You're like, oh my gosh, you go shoot, and you're suddenly just opening the door by touching your wrist up there. Because you can do it right now with a phone, but again, hand's going to have to be free. You're going to have to be holding that phone, and if you've got a kid and bag of groceries and all of that. So again, I can see that there's potential for some of these apps that it's not an app like we think of apps now, but it's a one-function app, does something very well and very simple and takes advantage of the fact that it's immediate. Now, there is like a compass. I did have a compass on my watch face when I first had designed it, but it was chewing up battery, so I took it off. And got things like there's Google Fit, there's Jawbone Up, so you can actually track steps with that. There's even the Zen Watch comes with like some health things, so there's like a Zen Watch Wellness. So again, you could do those. I've got a Fitbit in my pocket, so then even like the steps that show on this are not as accurate to it, so then I don't bother to use it. And when I first got it, I thought, I wonder if I can just do this, if this will replace my Fitbit, and I'll sync this with Humana Vitality, so I'm getting my steps. But once I was comparing the steps that this got to that, it was just like, you know what, it just doesn't seem like it's consistently doing it. I don't know how any of these that have it on your wrist can accurately do it.
Can't.
When your arm is moving around, but you're not, and all of a sudden it's counting it as steps. We're like,
And then, but where it gets you though is that it doesn't count your incidental steps.
Right.
So for example, having something like at your waist, you might take a couple steps, it's going to register those, where moving around your hands, you're not moving, registers. So I've actually done the Fitbit to Fitbit comparison with the One and the Flex, and wore them for a 2-week period of time, and it was pretty much a wash. So where the one you miss out, you get it with the other.
But doesn't it use actual, like, your device to actually calculate your steps anyway? Like, I would imagine that since that's where, like, Fit is coming from, the only real one that has any kind of GPS functionality that can really track your distance or anything like that would be like the Sony smartwatch, which has its own GPS unit. But I believe that these actually are still pulling from Google Fit, which is kind of taking information from everywhere and then kind of averaging it out or processing it some way to get a consistent data.
Well, I don't know, because like the step counter, when I had the step counter showing on my watch, and actually let me see if I don't think that I can individually launch. Let me see if I just launch Jawbone up. All right, it says 7,044 steps. Nope, it's not moving. Oh, no, 760, 761. Yeah, so I'm just swinging my watch around, and it says yesterday you took 6,200 steps, and I had 1,000 on my Fitbit.
So that app is somehow pulling it from the watch, but I thought like Google Fit, like in that individual.
Google Fit, yes, I think is kind of a combination of referencing from your phone and getting GPS, because you aren't getting GPS location from the watch itself, although I could see them putting a GPS chip in here. Those chips are getting so small.
Well, the Sony Smartwatch 3 has it, which is an Android device, has it.
Right. So, but you know, I know that that's certainly one of the things Apple's going after is definitely for the watch to end up being that quantifiable health device. So they'll definitely be pushing for that. Now, the MyTracks is pretty cool. If I launch MyTracks, and I've played with that just with on my phone, that flip the screen for it. Did I? I don't think I did. We won't. Tracks. There we go. Oops. Okay. Well, MO failed. Screw MyTracks. Google Keep is pretty handy. Although, again, some of the functionality of it is not really realistic, but one that I do use a lot, and I just manually did this just being a geek, is I scanned in and actually added an image to Google Keep where I've got a note. It is my Qdoba rewards card.
That's perfect.
And so then I just do it just because, and it's the first note in Keep. So when I open Keep, now if I swipe down, my next note is just some other notes. Here's a list of apps on my phone because I'm getting ready to, when I do get that app update, I'm going to wipe out my phone, factory reset, and start fresh. So I made a laundry list of all the apps I've got on my phone. Let me see if I go to another one.
Is it backed up someplace then? It is?
This is all Google Keep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
So I'm going to go, here's like Dogville checklist. Every time that I have a gig, I've got this laundry list checklist that is, and so you can actually, I'm going to uncheck. I just unchecked the first two things. So I unchecked kick pedal and wireless mouse. So then those are two things, and you can actually maintain your checklist right there from your wrist. So I've done that before because I've always just got this list, reference it every time I'm getting ready to pack for a gig so I don't forget board or pedal or whatever it might be. I've added things to this over time. And so it's just nice to where I literally just, as I'm getting ready to go out the door and I'm pulling that up right here on the watch and just scroll on through, like I've got them all. I'm set, ready to go head out the door. So again, this is just scrolling through. Now it does stop at a certain point. There's keep note on your keep on your note keep on your phone to view all notes. So I think it scrolled through about 10, maybe 12 notes, and at that point, it's almost a sign like, you know what, you're doing too much on your watch. Yeah. Go to your phone already.
How does yours charge?
It has, and I didn't bring the charger with me, but it's kind of just a thing like this that just kind of cradles the phone. It's like kind of rubber, and then it has the USB off to the side. It is proprietary. That's a bit of a drag. I know the Moto X it's got wireless key charging, so that if you did have any kind of charging pad, you could just take your watch and if you needed to charge in the middle of the day and set it down on a charging pad and charge it. So that's a pretty cool thing with the Moto 360, because then even to this day, Asus does not sell a separate charger for this. I wanted to buy one. I thought I'll just have one at work, or even some in my backpack that would just be that extra charger. Instead, it's just sitting in the cabinet in the kitchen, and that's where I charge it every night. So that's the charging part. But let me see if there's something else I wanted to show about the. Oh, here's something that's kind of cool. Is that, and this is supposed to happen with the Apple Watch as well. You can pair this with a Bluetooth headset, and then you'll see I've got an icon for play music. And so then I could actually choose any music from the Google Play app on the phone and say pin this, and then those songs will actually be saved. And I can't remember how much memory is, but then the songs will actually be saved and synchronized to the watch. So you could have just Bluetooth headset and the watch and be out running and be listening to your playlist of songs, and they're all just stored on the watch. So pretty cool in that regard if someone did want to just have that connect. I played with it just to try it. Yes, it works. Not something I really end up doing. Couple things that I think are annoying that they definitely need to improve upon is, and right now I don't have anything as an example, and I think I probably already dismissed all my events on my watch. Let me scroll over and see. We've talked a lot about Google Now, and as many of you know, you swipe on over and then see all the different cards from Google Now of different things. Well, every day I've got people who are friends where their birthday shows up, so there's a card. Well, those cards also show up on Android Wear. So it could say, it's Richard Meadows' birthday today. I see it. I tap on it. Nothing happens. It is just a card to tell me it's your birthday.
No, it's there. Okay.
That is kind of like an issue that I had and conveyed to the last team when they were still actively developing, we were offering feedback, that there'd be a notification card I could swipe through. And right now I might even still see them here. Might have be gone. Yeah, I don't see them here. But I could see them in the timeline where it would say, all right, it's Richard's birthday. Well, then I go to tap on it, and the option would be if you had shared your contact info in Google Plus to where you shared your mobile number to your friends in your circle, I could send you a text message to say happy birthday. Just a text message. And it's like, why in the world is this not allowing me? Because on the phone, if you went to say happy birthday to that card that showed up, it's going to Google Plus.
Yes.
To notify them. Why in the hell did they not make it go to Google Plus from Glass? Why in the hell does it not do something from, why are you just showing this card that does nothing for you? You don't even get a chance to swipe over and say open on phone. Nothing. The card is just there for you to dismiss. So it's just like, there's an opportunity. It's just an annoyance. There's just one of those kind of things that's a little annoying. And I thought there was something else I was going to talk about that was kind of an annoyance, but I can't think of it right now. Something they recently did add is I'll show, like, I've got like a notification from, well, this actually is kind of annoying, is the Google Plus and notifications on the watch are crap. Because right now I can swipe up and see it. And it says new Google Plus notifications. And I see it says somebody, I don't know how to pronounce your name, and 7 others, ... Jonathan Brown and Rich, probably Richard Meadows, ... So I don't really see it all. And if I tap on it, swipe over, open on phone. Now, there are times to where, like, say if you just posted something and I saw it, I could tap on it and say comment. How the hell am I going to comment when I don't even know what you said? You know what I mean?
Like there's not enough characters for the notification.
Yeah, you can't even see the body of the message. So then why even have comment if, so little things like that, they've got to work through. It's like, think through this, people. Think through this user experience of like, so then some people have even turned off. You can customize, you can go into the app on Android Wear and choose what apps get notification to the watch. And so then for a while I did have Google Plus notifications turned off. But instead, if nothing else, I like that I look down and go, oh, someone did just comment and I know I just recently posted on something. So then I'm going to just pick up my phone and I'm going to continue on, or Chromebook, whatever I'm going to be doing. But so let's say now I've got that notification and I swipe it away so it's dismissed. Now you can see where it says undo and it times out. All right, so basically, when you do dismiss something, if all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that, when you swipe and all of a sudden you'll see it says undo, and so you can undo the last swipe that you just did. So it's like it's not gone, but you only do have, I think it's probably about 3-4 seconds there. You see it suddenly a little timer is just spinning on around. It's like, you better act on this. So right now I also see kind of an agenda thing where it says it's Jamie Kearney's birthday and it's one of our cats' flea treatment day today. And if I tap on it, there's nothing, I'm seeing, if there were 5 items in my agenda, I'd tap, I'd see each of the cards kind of like just scrolls on by and see, okay, it's Jimmy, this, that, and the other. But there's nothing much else that you're seeing. But at the same time, isn't that pretty much all you needed to see on the watch? Otherwise, I swipe over, and this is like the birthday things, okay? So I can get focused. Swipe, nothing. See, it won't go. It doesn't even go to open on phone. I think if nothing else, that should open up your calendar. There's not the option. I'm swiping, it won't do it. So then I can swipe on over, and I've just dismissed it. All right, and I'm going to dismiss it as steps. Now this is pretty cool. So it says 9 minutes to home. Typical Google Now card. I tap on it.
Open and fun.
There is the Google Map even showing the traffic with the green and red, yellow, what the traffic is. Oops. Back up to it again. 9 minutes to home. All right, so I got the map. I swipe over, navigate. Let me see if there's another one. That's it. So, there's 3 cards.
There's no sound.
Okay, but there's no sound, but it does vibrate. So then you can be...
But that could be useful when you're walking around like downtown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, as I understand, the Apple Watch is going to have the haptic. It'll be like, if you're supposed to turn left, it's going to vibrate on the left side, turn right. I think that's... many people are probably not even going to really... it's not going to make as much of a difference. It's vibrating, you're looking down, the directions are telling you up ahead you're going to turn right on Main Street, that kind of thing. But it is very cool to where I play with this driving around, obviously driving around Louisville, it's like you know your way around, but there could be times to where all of a sudden like traffic is really bad, whatever the case might be, and all of a sudden you're rerouting. So now all of a sudden you're talking, you're driving, oh that's right, and now all of a sudden now you're paying attention. So even when you're driving, just to have that navigation, that have that little buzz is kind of cool. My wife can't stand when we're navigating and then all of a sudden the voice comes on because I'll have it running through stereo. So we're talking and then all of a sudden she comes on. I try to keep it turned down, but more times than not I end up like tapping navigation because it's driving her nuts. Well, then that's when all of a sudden you're missing a
exit, yeah.
So the vibrate part, that's pretty darn cool. So then I'm going to swipe away and dismiss on. Swipe away on that thing there. Now here's just stock again. Some of these are just Google Now cards. So then if I tap on this, it shows Apple, Google, Target, Humana, Corning Glass stocks. And so you're basically, and I've even seen some screenshots. And I know again, it's so bright, you're not really seeing it well on the screen there. But you're able to just see. So I just look and go, oh, what do you know? Target's at $82. They were up almost 1% today. So you're glancing at it. That's it. There's nothing more for you to be able to see. A swipe over, there's a disclaimer, and that's it. Yep, for the stocks. Otherwise, I just dismiss that. Now I did get some Amazon notifications of packages delivered, and then the weather is really kind of very simple on Android Wear. When I swipe over on the weather, I just see 4 days, and it's just very rudimentary. Otherwise, I swipe over again. It's to tap and open weather.com. So that's the weather one. And then otherwise, once I'm done swiping through, then basically I'm left to just having just the watch face and this that I was going to interact with all those other apps. And so in all honesty, like some of those apps I described, and let me just open up my app tray again just to see. There is like Find My Phone, which could be handy. There is a feature, and I know it exists with Apple Watch as well, I've heard, is that when I'm disconnected from the phone, and actually I turned off this one feature where like the screen turns red and it like, really vibrates. Right now, when I'm disconnected from the phone, if I was far enough away that I lost the Bluetooth connection with it, then the watch just goes bzzz, and you look down and you see a little knot symbol. There are some apps that are like literally to where it's like it includes the find your phone to where then once you're disconnected from it, you can actually swipe over, and one of the things is like ring the phone, and the phone starts ringing. So if you did misplace where your phone was laying, you want to find it real quick, then you just tap that, and all of a sudden, your phone's going off. But admittedly, I wasn't really using that because I usually don't misplace where my phone is. But flashlight, that has come very much in handy. As a matter of fact, speaking of updates for the Moto X, is when this update comes out for its Android 5.1, as I understand, you're supposed to go two karate chop moves with the phone and the flashlight comes on. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
So you need the flashlight. But what I end up doing is I usually end up just saying, my hands can be full, and I say, okay, Google, open flashlight. And then boom. And it's got a couple of different flashlight options. You've got like, white, red, blue, green, red just like flashing. So I guess if someone needed to have a red flashing, you can hold your wrist up. Caution! But the white, it comes in handy where, the niece can be asleep and I need to find something in the bedroom and I swipe it over to the blue and there I am just with that very low light and I'm finding what I need to find without having to turn on a light. And that's kind of convenient. So again, it was those real simple one-time use type things. Now I've got Pocket Casts on here, as well as like with Google Play. If I'm playing Pocket Cast, then it basically is giving you the playing controls. But 99.9% of the time I'm listening to podcasts, I've got my Bluetooth headset wrapped around my neck. And so then even like when there'll be like one of those commercials and they're doing, they're talking about the show's brought to you by, and I'll reach up real quick and I end up just like fast forwarding through. Every time you tap it fast forwards like 20 seconds, and so then I skip through the ad, or if I just have to pause because I need to talk to somebody, then just pause the podcast. So those controls are on the watch, and I find I really don't use those controls on the watch because I'm listening via my headset. It's got those controls, so I just reach up and just do that. So it's not that big of a deal. But for someone who wasn't doing that, I could see that being kind of convenient because iPhone users still, above any other model phone, still are hardwire cable users instead of using a Bluetooth headset.
I have both.
I see so many, when you see somebody walking with
It's because it comes with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then they end up using them. So then in that regard, on the Apple Watch, that's going to be very, very convenient. If they're listening to a podcast or listening to music, they're going to reach down on their watch and they're going to be able to stop, pause, skip tracks, whatever the case might be. So it all depends on the application. Again, that's why just some of the stuff ends up being redundant because of the fact it's like, well, shoot, I can do that right there from the headset. It's around my neck anyway. That's how I'm listening. So, but with a regular corded headset or Beats, then they would need to have some kind of control because for the most part, some of them have them on the cable where you can do that. But
Yeah.
and then pretty much. Oh, there's even like this one is like SOS, which is interesting. We tap on SOS. Emergency message sent after 9 seconds. It's counting down, so I'll swipe to cancel. Otherwise, it sends an emergency message. I've never even played with it before, so I don't even know what would be happening.
Oh, yeah. You'll get random texts and calls from, like, once you've set it up with your emergency contacts, then they'll be like, oh, my God, are you okay? Because it'll send, like, a text.
So
you
then,
can set it up, and I don't know if you have the app, but I think it's called, like, Moto Alert or something. There's a Moto X app.
well, there is
Emergency something, right? Something emergency.
There's a Zen Watch Manager, which for this particular Zen Watch then ends up having. This is cool. I'm not sure if Apple Watch is going to do this, but like if I have the watch in its awakened state and I want to silence it real quick, I just do that and it mutes it, puts it down into ambient mode. So then apparently you can select that on or off here because it says cover to mute, find my watch, forgot phone warning. I thought that the SOS thing, though, was part of this, but I don't see any settings for it. So that's interesting. I don't want to go trying it right now, but I wonder...
Because I know one of the Moto-specific apps for the Moto X was like an emergency app. On the phone, you set it up so that you could have 3 people be your emergency contact. And you could set text, call, whatever, you set it up. So if something happened to you, you could just tap the app and it would blast all those people, you're in trouble. So like if you're
so I have to check into it because I honestly don't.
iOS?
There are, but this is one that comes with the Moto X.
You know, I don't see anything like under SOS on my phone.
It's called emergency or alert or something.
No, I don't think I have it. Or it might be buried, say, like, is it possibly... Might be at the Experience Center, so I'll let you know. I'm going to find out soon because I just started there, so I just want to say, I have the 28th. And then if so, then I'll really publicize that.
It's called Motorola Alert.
All right, so all I've got right now is Moto. Oh, I wonder if it was an addition. Did you add it, possibly? Because
Maybe.
at least it didn't come default on my Moto X.
No, I don't think it came initially default.
So I've got like the Moto, which is really like the assist and all that. So, but anyway, so that SOS is on there, but I just don't know what the functionality of it is right now. But that's pretty much experience that I've had with where, as far as battery life, like I say, I'm at 46%. Again, I started about an hour and a half ago, maybe almost 2 hours ago. It was close. It was like 6 o'clock when I got here, so it's almost 2 hours ago. That I had 67%, and I'm down to 46. So I've lost 20% battery, but I've been using it much, much more just in the past hour or so than my typical usage. As with anything, even like with glass, is that I can end up killing it a lot just doing a lot of demo. But I think Apple users are going to find they're going to need to charge their watch as soon as they get home initially, because they're going to just be playing with it. They're going to be showing everybody, and they're going to just burn through it like nobody's business. But that's just natural. I mean, so even if with a phone, if you're just like, check out my phone, and you're just doing all sorts of stuff all day long and playing games, you're going to burn through it. But over time, then people will just settle into a routine, and I have no problem the majority of the time lasting through the day and still being at like 20, 30%. As I mentioned earlier, I can put it into that theater mode, and if I really just knew that I'm not concerned about, if I even got a vibration and you needed to see it, as long as your hands are free, double tap the screen and you're going to see the notification, so everything's cool. Otherwise, it's going to go right back to just jet black, not even ambient mode, and so you're really ultra saving battery. Because the ambient mode, like here, this doesn't take much battery at all. It's almost just like with the Moto X, to where like when the Moto X, wait for my screen to go dark. All right, and then once you actually have the motion in front of it, then it lights up. That takes very little battery, so then it gives you those notifications so that I can end up pressing in if there was messages to see. You know, you press and suddenly you're seeing the messages without having to turn the phone on, so it's a great battery saver. So this ambient mode is a battery saver, but all it takes is like moving your arm around and, I'm going to make a liar of myself, and then all of a sudden it's on. Well, if you didn't want that to do that, and you're having that happen numerous times through the day, you're burning up unnecessary battery. So I'm not sure with the Apple Watch how that's going to fare, of what kind of setting you'd be able to set, but you know, that's kind of stuff that would, just like with anything, if you take into consideration, if you can take steps to save it, then someone's going to prolong it. They're going to, although when someone goes, oh, I could last a day and a half on the watch, but like, why are you going to wake up in the morning with it being like on 30% and think that's a good thing, and you're going to try to continue on through the day? Face it, people, we're going to end up having to charge these things at night until they really, really improve them. And then even at best, what are you going to get? You're going to get like 2 days. At some point, you're still going to have to stop the charge the darn thing until that they really start to make some advancements, especially if there's going to be reason that people are going to be using them a lot. It should be a kind of a thing, and I really, it's interesting to see the different philosophies of how Google and Apple are going about this. Obviously, with the enthusiasm of the new shiny device, everyone's going to be using the heck out of them. But the hope would be is that you're not going to access it all that much. Instead, it should just be, it's a timepiece that's on you, and it also is doing all this other functionality, and hopefully just doing stuff almost just like transparently, and then when you do need to see it, you see it. And so that they can make battery improvements. And yeah, maybe you could go a couple of days on a battery charge. But otherwise, if we're going to be using it for all sorts of sensing and stuff actively doing on the device, and you're going to be making purchases and doing Apple Pay and touching your watch up against the thing, we're going to just be chewing through battery. That's all there is to it. That's why a Pebble can last as long as it lasts, is because it doesn't do all that much, and it doesn't have all those components in there constantly hammering it, and it's just that e-ink display that's very low power consumption, etc. It kind of reminds me of how, like, when I used to have a Windows Mobile or a Pocket PC, and it had a color screen, and you're doing all sorts of things and chewing through the battery, and then someone would be like, well, my Palm Pilot lasts all week on a AA battery. And it's like, whippie-ki-yay, you've got a gray screen that you aren't doing a fraction of the things you can do, etc. And so, I mean, that's why it could last. It was like it was in ambient mode all the time kind of deal. I mean, very low battery consumption. So, be interesting to see once it does come out, and the real users, just your average Joe, rather than all the tech press who, love or hate Apple, want to either be very critical right from the start. I'm trying not to be critical. I'm being open-minded. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited about, just as I mentioned earlier, I'm excited about the possibility that Apple's actually got a lab where people are trying to work on their version of glass and go, now how would we do it? Because great, raise the bar. Challenge on all this so that we just continue to have technology that gets more svelte and useful and stylish, etc. I'm all for it. So same thing with the watch is that there's going to be certain functions that I've already just seen in the demo that I'm envious of. While it might not be that often of a thing, to be able to answer a phone call from the watch is pretty damn cool. And some of the other functions that they've got in there, being able to make a payment. I don't use Google Wallet all that much, but it is becoming more prevalent. I can't remember where I was one day. Oh, I was at Home Depot and was buying some stuff, and their terminals do have the NFC, and it says Apple Pay right on it. So I was just buying like $10 worth of stuff. So I'm like, oh, what the heck? I'm just going to do it with Google Wallet. Because I was ready to pull out my debit card, but instead, then I tap it, and it came on up and said, need cashier assistance. So the girl comes on over, and she like pushes some buttons and goes, try again. But she didn't know what I had done. She just saw the cashier assistance. So I touched my phone again to the pad, and then she's looking. She's like, what are you trying to do? I said, I'm trying to pay with Google Pay, your Google Wallet. And she goes, oh, we don't do that here. And I was like, oh, okay, so never mind. I pull out my debit card and just paid. And I meant to look, and I hadn't yet. But perhaps Home Depot is along with CVS and numerous other places that are part of that currency consortium, and that they have the readers, but not cooperating with Apple Pay or Google Wallet at this point in time. I'm not sure. Likely that is the case. It wasn't a big deal. But back to that, I think it's very cool that the Apple Watch will actually have the ability to where you want to make that payment, and as seamless as they've made it, you touch that watch over to the terminal, and boom, you've made the payment. That's very cool. I mean, that is really taking this to the max of the convenience of Apple Pay is already so fast to where if somebody's authenticated with Touch ID and they just touch their phone, whereas admittedly I've got to open up Google Wallet, I've got to do my PIN, and then I can tap and pay. So I've just got some extra steps. It's a first world problem to really have that many. Oh my gosh, so much more that I have to do. But the fact of the matter is that it's convenient, but it'd be super convenient to just be able to do.
The cool thing was also the hotel rooms, like.
And again, because of the NFC chip in there.
Right, and it's funny because when we went to a Disney thing over the summer for my wife, she had like a conference there, and I noticed that the little wristbands that they give you as being part of the hotel guest actually was an NFC thing, because I was able to touch my phone and it goes do-do-do, I was like, oh, cool. How cool would that be for them to make an app to, you can just tap your phone to the door. This was, before the whole watch explosion thing, but I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, that is something. I mean, I can't remember. Somebody was telling me about the amount of money that was spent on that whole Disney project. They blew some mega millions on that whole thing, but that thing is just like a hot tamale. People love that when all of a sudden a family of 4 getting ready to go to Disney and that thing gets shipped to their house and they've got those bracelets that are in that exquisite box, and I mean just how it takes care of all of that. It's really, they're doing in their controlled environment that kind of thing that that geeks like me think that's what I want to have happen with all this functionality, why I'm transparent with Google, because I want for all that stuff to be anticipated. And so, when they suddenly are walking into one of the restaurants there, that all of a sudden, the server's coming over and already knows that the Jones family has already just sat down and the kids want mac and cheese and just whatever the case might be. And some people call it creepy. I call it just absolutely awesome, of just where you're just tying all that together, especially in a Disney experience. That's flipping cool. And so it's just, we're on the cusp of ideas that people are going to have. I mean, at this point now, where's my wallet? I've got, and I always have to juggle all this stuff. I've got my Humana Access card to be able to get into a door of the building. I've got the card to get into the parking garage attached to my wallet. I always keep it in my wallet so I can just touch it that way, because I didn't want to have a bunch of crap dangling off of this, and what if I forget this, but I don't forget my wallet, or I hope I don't anyway. That'd be so cool to come up to that parking garage thing and just go like this with my watch and touch my watch up against that thing. I get to the building, I walk in, and I touch my watch up against that. I get into the food court, and I want to buy something, same thing. Now, they're supposed to be, yippee-ki-yay, they're going to be adding to our access cards now, where you can, it's almost like a debit card kind of thing. You can put money into an account and then be able to just pay for lunch, and you'll swipe it, and as long as you've got a balance in there. So that's cool, but for all of those things, it's going to be with the watch, and very soon, to where all of those just be so convenient to where everything from getting yourself in the gate at work to the parking garage at work to opening your door at your house, etc., and it all just being from your wrist. That's the shit that's really, really cool. And other stuff can still just be relegated to the phone. Do other longer stuff on the phones, but the apps that are going to make the most sense and have the most success are going to do those things that are just going to save that step to where it's using that NFC, using the Bluetooth, using that wireless capability, but it's right there on your wrist. And then, yes, the notifications and other kind of things. That'll be cool too. As a matter of fact, speaking of apps,
Oh, did it?
Oh no, it says Windows Update. Sorry, I'm going to say postpone. Sorry, it wasn't a battery thing. I just got a notification on the computer and panicked. I thought it was saying it was going to shut down.
Then it would have died a long time ago.
Is that Humana is getting ready to release an app, and it will be coordinated, hopefully at the same time that the watch is actually going to come out. It's called Q, C-U-E, and the premise behind the app is it's reminders to do healthy activities. So I don't know a lot of detail about it. I've seen presentations of it, but I wasn't intimately involved with it. But that the app will be on the iPhone, and then the feature will be on the Apple Watch. Eventually, when they can make it be a standalone app that could just be on the watch when it's released later in the fall for developers to do, then they'll enhance it. But essentially what Q does is it might say, like we've been sitting here, and I've been sitting on my butt since 6 o'clock, that suddenly you get the notification, you'd look and it'd say, stand up. So then all of a sudden you stand up and stretch or whatever, and then all of a sudden you have a chance to be able to say done, and now all of a sudden there's you've acknowledged that activity. Or you might say dismiss it because you don't have time to be able to do that right now, or the case might be. Another one I saw, because I was using an iPhone at work today that had Q, the app actually installed, and every time I went to go do something, there was another Q notification that was showing on the screen, and another one said, stop and breathe, and it said something like, close your eyes and deep breathe for 10 seconds, or something like that, something along that line. And so I just dismissed it because I was just wanting to do what I want to do, but I just kept observing that there's these different cues like this that are supposed to be helpful type things. And the intent of the app is not just for a Humana member, but for anybody that could install this. If they've got an Apple Watch, they can enjoy Q, and it's just made by Humana. So it's cool that they're poised and ready with an app that they made in the Digital Experience Center to be released the moment that the app is that the watch is available. Someone could get this. And just want to do that little shameless plug there for this Humana app because it's very cool. But it's going to be apps like that that are beneficial, that's just trying to leverage something. And again, that one app I showed earlier that's called Paperware, I look forward to seeing apps that are something more like that, because I used to have one that was on glass, and it doesn't exist anymore. The guy had difficulty with the way that, however it was aggregating the information and pushing it to glass. They said he had to change it. He never went back and visited it, and so he let it just die on the vine. But it was called Wink Feed, and what you could do is, via the website, you'd say, okay, and I had chosen like Android Central and Android Police and The Verge and several different news sites like that, to where, and then you could even granularly say if it was The Verge, you just want to like get the latest news or just their subcategories. And basically what it ended up doing is when there was a new article that suddenly came up on Android Central, I suddenly got it, ching, I'd look up, and there'd be the article, and it was just like a snippet of what the headline of the article was. I'm like, wow, that looks interesting. I'd like to read that later. I tap, save it to Pocket. And it was hands down the most frequent app that I ended up using on glass, aside, say, from like emails and texts coming through and that kind of generic kind of notification. But as far as an app that I was like, wow, what adds value is that I'm busy doing something, I'm working, whatever else, and I look up and go, no, I don't care about that one. I'll let it dismiss. Keep on. And then once I have a chance, I'm on a break, I'm eating lunch, it's after work, now I'm suddenly going back into Pocket, and, well, wishful thinking, because Pocket's my place where I store a bunch of stuff I always intend on getting to reading. But, it's saved there, and then you could read it later. I could see something like that on the watch being a very, very helpful kind of thing. Again, you're not doing a bunch of consuming while you're on the watch, but got a notification, sorry. And I even just got it on my watch.
And now your eye.
Hang out, buddy, for the meeting. What? I don't even know what meeting she's talking about. Sorry. See how I got distracted? I looked at my watch and looked at my glasses.
Well, it was
Oh, that's right, I'm
surreal
talking
because
to
it's
you.
3 different notifications.
Right, and here's another. See, I just got it on. I got it on the computer. I got it on my watch. Got it on my face. But back to that, it's just that kind of notification to where you could choose and say, I am interested in updating me on certain news things, and you're not going to sit there necessarily and read the whole news thing there, but you're just going to. Now, I did this morning. I was getting ready, and my watch vibrated, and I was talking about that news app called Circa, and let me go to it here. Here is Circa, and so right now it just has the latest news things that I can swipe on through. Well, when there's a news flash, I end up getting, because I get daily at noon, is a Circa thing that's like it's the daily update, and then you. At least the daily update's just going to be like about the top 10 or 12 news items for you to swipe through and see, so you can just get a news digest real quick. Well, this morning I'm getting ready, and all of a sudden I felt my watch vibrate. I looked down, and it was a Circa news break, and it was unfortunately, about that plane in France that went down. And that's the kind of stuff that, again, it's just at a glance, and there was a little bit. I mean, so it just said news break, German plane goes down in southern France. And then at that point, you're going to either go to the computer, your phone, whatever, and read more. That kind of stuff is almost very Glass-like. Reminds me of those short little snippet notifications that you get. You might just see it, acknowledge it, move on, ignore it, and then something else is like, oh my gosh, I got to read more about this. Maybe it's, again, with the Apple Watch, it's not going to necessarily be Google Now functionality, but you know that Apple's going to leverage stuff to where everyone's going to be thinking of apps to be able to make, and the noise is going to be a bit much. People are going to have to sift through and decide. They're going to be all excited and put all sorts of different apps on their phone that are going to be running the Apple Watch, and then they're going to be like, Calgon, take me away. I'm getting notifications to death. But I could see being like TV shows or just whatever kind of stuff that you'd suddenly get a notification that your TV show is about to start. Just whatever, just little things like that it could just be, you've got certain things that you'd end up doing. But it's going to be those, in a general word, notifications. It's going to be a lot of notifications of stuff, and then otherwise I think it's going to be just that the big strength is going to be quantified stuff, your heart rate and those kind of things that can be from a health perspective, and then otherwise leveraging what can you do hands-free with this device and touch it up against something and do that kind of functionality. That's going to be some of the coolest stuff we're going to see coming out of these. You have any thoughts? Mark, Tim, questions? You're just listening. I'm trying to unmute Tim in case he wanted to talk. Or did you mute yourself? Maybe you muted yourself, Tim, because I can't unmute you now.
Maybe he left away.
Well, yeah, he's just kind of listening. Oh, there you go. See if there you go.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure all this out.
I'm glad to find you connected now with your blazing internet speed you got at your house.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're still Android, right, Tim? So you're not even a candidate for the Apple Watch.
Correct.
How about you, Andy? Are you going? Because I know that you said Chromebook was on your wish list, but you got baby duty. So.
Yeah, well, I have a baby on the way, so yeah, no. I have a few apps that I'm trying to publish real quick to kind of hopefully help fund first the baby and my wife's lack of income for the next few months, and then, other stuff. But I sold my laptop a few months ago, and I haven't replaced it, and now I'm like really feeling that, because I only do the development from here, and logging in from like a tablet is just not an option. I did it, a while ago, and I tried it. It's okay for like minor edits, but if I'm going to sit there at like a place for like an hour, it's just too cumbersome to do. So yeah, I definitely am looking for some, and since that's basically what I would be doing is just logging into my home computer for that part, a Chromebook would make actually a lot more sense because I'm not going to be running programs directly on it when I have the programs here at home. So
I know.
yeah, I mean,
Trying the last month's meeting, and Mark felt my pain because he was there as we struggled. I had 2 different laptops at the house, and both of them are pretty tired. And in my little current Samsung Chromebook, this works okay, but it is not a powerhouse and not capable of doing a multi-window hangout with, especially being hangout on air, etc. It couldn't handle it. And so then the meeting was just an absolute disaster as far as getting connected. We ended up meeting the rest of the time. Mark and Mike Eisen and I think a couple others had joined at a point in time, on the phone. I mean, I was just literally on my phone having the hangout, so it couldn't be on air, and we managed through. And so we were just talking even after the meeting. I was talking to Mark about various Chromebooks and which one to get. And then lo and behold, also the news came out for the Pixel 2, and so went ahead and took the. So I'm looking forward to ending up having the next meetup. Then I anticipate.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that one. I want to see what your input is on it. I saw that you had posted the Octane 2 score. It definitely beats out the Mac that I'm actually using for development, which I've upgraded. It's got the Core i7 quad core and 16 gigs of RAM and everything. And so far, the new Chromebook Pixel outperformed that. So.
Very cool. Yeah, I can't imagine as far as like when I looked at that Octane score, and then it showed like the lowest was the Chromebook 11 from HP, and I know that the Chromebook 11 is a step up from this. I mean, it's definitely got more horsepower and features, and so when it had that as, I don't know if it was like scored like a 6,000 or whatever it was, and that the Pixel 2 was up there like at about 35,000 or something like that on the score. And I was like, then my little Samsung original Chromebook has got to be like 2,000. It's probably the rock bottom on the Octane score.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Mac Mini that I'm actually on right now that I do all of the development on because I wanted to learn the iOS development, so I had to get a Mac, and I figured might as well get the cheapest Mac that I can get since I don't really need the actual screen. I have monitors, I have,
Right.
Macs, I have keyboards and stuff. So the only thing I paid for was the upgraded processor in it, and then found some RAM, threw it in there for like 150, which is half the price of what Apple wanted for 16 gigs. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's a pretty neat little thing that's 2 years old, and it scored 23,000. So it's not like it's that far behind the Pixel. It's just
right.
That's pretty impressive for a little tiny laptop,
Yeah. And it's not like that. My concern is not to be like that it had to. I'm delighted to see how well that score is, but I know that it's just an excellent piece of hardware, and that's what I need at this point. Primarily, what I end up doing is I live in Chrome, so it's going to be, and I do need to access my computer at home. Since it'll be so robust and capable, then provided that I've just got a good connection, then I'll just be virtual. I'm going to be using the Chrome remote desktop, and I do that right now with this little Samsung, and it manages, but I can't wait as far as just like how pokey this thing is when I go to do something. It just, how smoother the experience would be, because it's just from top to bottom was built around Chrome to make it a superior screen. And I'm not usually, at most I might have 3-4 tabs open. I hear about people that end up having 20-30 tabs of Chrome open at the same time with all the stuff going on. I'm like, my gosh, how much can you focus on at a time? Close some tabs, people.
I did apply for the Google I/O this year. They didn't require payment up front, so that at least helps me not have to have $900 out of my bank account sitting there while I wait for a decision.
Yes.
So that was nice. I did sign up for it. If I do get selected, I'll probably, figure a way to go out there. And then there's always a chance that they'll give one away there.
Might get a Pixel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That might be worth the $900 admission.
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Liam Spradlin, who lives here in Louisville, and he's an editor for Android Police. And it was when I was thinking about getting the Pixel, and I said, so do you think I'm crazy for wanting to plop down that money for the Pixel? He goes, absolutely not. He goes, but are you thinking of going to I/O? And I said, oh, I'd love to go to I/O, but getting selected, there's a whole other story. He goes, well, if you get selected, word is that everyone's going to get a Pixel 2.
Cool.
So I too submitted, and I've been watching. I just checked my inbox right now, and
yeah, no, I've been waiting for that because I mean that was the 19th was almost a week ago now when the registration closed, and
yeah.
I figured there's a few guys down here that that I actually came to know from app development that actually don't live that far away. Figured maybe we could probably travel and split a room or something like that in San Fran to help cut the cost too.
Man, if you go to I/O and you're going to have an extra Pixel, and there's a really, really, really good guy, really good friend that could probably use one.
Well, I wouldn't have an extra one. I don't have a laptop now, so
I don't have a spare $1,300.
Yeah, no, and that's what I would be looking for. Is that
$1,000.
one. Hopefully.
Yeah, I tell you, 2 years ago about this time was when all of a sudden I got the notifications like, congratulations, you were selected for Glass, and I had to go home and go, honey, I've got some good news and some bad news. And she's like, what? And I said, I was selected for Glass, and she goes, how much is it going to cost?
That's the bad news.
It's going to cost $1,500 plus I got to go to California to pick them up. And she's like, all right. So she's like, let me start an envelope.
Yeah.
And so she started an envelope. So I've been waiting to see. I'm not anticipating getting selected because I'm not a developer. And so if they were to look through and go, he's just a marketing guy, he doesn't need to.
They do have. They have tickets available for the press and all that other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, and so that's why I figured that if by some chance that all of a sudden it was like I got that congratulations email, then I would just have to say, all right, honey, because I know work-wise they wouldn't send me. I'm allowed to go to a conference each year, but it's got to be something relevant to my job. And honestly, going to I/O is not something to be relevant to what I'm doing. They want for me to go to a healthcare type of a conference,
right.
Something that's so that I'll be slated. I've already been looking at a couple of different conferences I potentially could go to, and if I got selected for I/O, it'd have to be out of my own pocket. And if it gets swag out of it, awesome. But if I got a ticket for it, I'd have to just beg and plead to my wife, be like, come on, honey, we got to make this happen somehow.
The funniest thing was last year at I/O was how big of a hit that cardboard was. Really, literally the cheapest thing that they gave people was just this idea that sparked, oh yeah, you could do virtual reality with a piece of cardboard. That was pretty neat. And I haven't picked up a cardboard yet because I finally have a Nexus 6 now, and I've been looking to, if I do one, I'm going to get obviously the one that fits it. And I haven't tried out the whole 3D reality, experience yet, but
it's cool. Admittedly, I played with it a lot more when I first got it, and then since then I, have it sitting on my desk and haven't used it a lot. But the other day I did use it when Google just opened up the
store
in Curry's in London.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they made a VR demo of the place, and so I installed it, although it's freaking massive. I want to say it was almost a gig. It was like 780 megs to install the thing. But I went ahead and installed it onto my phone and then played with it in cardboard. And you basically, a girl greets you at the door, and then there's they almost look like the little location pin, and it's over different places inside, and you're just looking around, and you're inside the place. And it reminds you kind of an Apple store, to where everything's very clean, very sparse, and very stylistically designed and modular. And so then the girl walks you, and says, we're going to look at this next, and then also you look on over and you select it, and she comes back in and talks about it. And so very cool. And then some of the other little cardboard demos that you can just get through the store. Looking at the Palace in Versailles, France, and a roller coaster. I mean, they're pretty darn realistic, and yet it looks like you're looking through a $15 piece of cardboard with the lenses and whatnot. And I can imagine that the Samsung Gear is probably pretty cool looking, as well as Oculus, because then it's a lot more immersive. But
I mean, compared to cost comparison, if it ends up, people would do more for the cardboard thing. you're reaching a larger market already.
No, and I tell you something that's very, very cool with it is Street View.
Right.
Is to be able to end up, and anyone with an Android phone can end up double tapping on the compass mode in Street View, and it'll split it even if you don't have cardboard, and you can just see how it just suddenly does it. And recently they added Street View to my hometown, to even my neighborhood street, which is a dead-end street with like 20 houses on it, and that was just so cool to where I was like right in front of the house, and all you would need is like some sound to where, like, if you had headphones on, to where, like, you're hearing kind of like neighborhood sounds, like maybe like the sound of a lawnmower going or whatever, and then just like looking around the neighborhood, be like, oh my gosh, I'm back on my childhood street. Very tricky. As a matter of fact, speaking of Street View, on our Street View, they came down the alley, and so I mean the shot is a lot more accurate than what it was before. They were a little bit further down before you got to 452, and lo and behold, who's in the shot but our two dogs? It's really cool. They both came to the end of the fence, and there they are standing there. You just see little Lucky's like looking like, what are you doing? And then you see the shadow of the car cast onto the yard a little bit, but there's our two dogs in our Street View. So it was very fitting. I thought it was very cool that they were captured in the Street View. But that is very cool to where I played around with it, just arbitrarily picking a place, you know, corner of Hollywood and Vine, just wherever, and you're just suddenly just like up, down, looking all around. The one thing that they could add to it is that on cardboard you've got the little washer that you can click to activate and do things with cardboard, is that in Street View it'd be cool if when you're like looking that you could look down at those pointers that you see that you normally click with a mouse pad or tap if you're on your phone, and it moves you down the street. It'd be cool if you could do that while you're in it, so that you're suddenly looking and go, wait a minute, I want to just go down the street, and just click, and it would just move you down the street. And now all of a sudden you'd be looking around. So I could see that coming to add more functionality, but very cool. So, well, that said, I'm pretty much talked out. Unless you guys have anything else. I've talked watches, talked glass, talked cardboard, I've talked pixels.
And I/O.
In I/O. I/O, I/O. Let's hope they email me soon. Hoping.
Alrighty, take care.
All right, we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Please, Matt.
Peace out.
Think about the pixel thing.